Good day and welcome to Small Biz Aid Live. Our session is titled How to Compete with Amazon. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to your session moderator, Gail Gardner from Biz Sugar.
Thank you, Heather. So it's an exciting topic. Amazon has advantages that seem overwhelming to many small businesses today, but a small business can deliver a personal experience that Amazon can't match. And there are tools to create a website with very similar features to Amazon's. We have an amazing panel with us today who can speak to every aspect of what it takes to amaze your customers consistently. Do it well, and you turn them into repeat buyers who are loyal to your brand. So I'd like to introduce our panelists. First, we have Alex Rossman, who's the president of Rossman Media. Business Insider awarded his agency Best Social Media Agency in 2020. They believe that this is because of their award-winning customer acquisition strategies and technology. Their mission is to help growing brands engage and convert more customers through award-winning social media strategies. Next, we have Steve Chow, the full-time entrepreneur and founder of My Wife Quit Her Job. His blog and podcast teach how to start an e-commerce store and sell physical products online. Steve runs an associated Facebook community of over 14,000 members, and his friends and fans use it to freely communicate and discuss marketing, e-commerce, products to sell, and other online business interests. Next up, we have Shep Hyken. Shep is the Chief Amazement Officer of Shepherd Presentations. He's a New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author and has been inducted into the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame for lifetime achievement in the speaking profession. His latest book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again, comes out September 21st this year. And he is also the creator of the Customer Focus, a customer service training program that helps clients develop a customer service culture and loyalty mindset. Finally, we have Ernest Apps, an international speaker and e-commerce expert. He specializes in high-ticket dropshipping. Ernest is the digital marketing entrepreneur CEO of high-ticket e-com secrets. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this will be a really great session. All right, so let's get started. Steve, how would you quantify Amazon's customer experience? What do you see as the key factors and why so many people prefer to shop with them? And how can you duplicate the features of their website on a small business website?
So I just want to be clear, I don't think Amazon's website is all that great. I think the people shop on Amazon because they carry a whole bunch of things and they offer superior delivery as well as support from the standpoint that if there's anything wrong with your order, you know as a consumer you can always return it for a full refund. And you also know that they have really fast shipping. I know for me, the reason why I shop on Amazon is just to get things fast. I normally don't go on Amazon to get high-end stuff because, especially lately, I find that there's a lot of junk on there. A lot of people just throwing stuff on there. I think the Chinese percentage of sellers on there now is over 60% or something like that. So, I mean, those are the main advantages. And if you want to replicate those on your site, it's really going to be hard for you to offer shipping as cheaply as they do. So you got to make up for it in other ways, which I'm sure we're all going to discuss today, like storytelling, customer loyalty, and basically building a strong brand.
All right, so do you guys have anything to add to that?
Well, I think that I won't totally disagree with Steve. I think Amazon has a decent website. I mean, granted, I think the website is extremely functional, extremely intuitive, and their whole focus on convenience is what's made them who they are. They start out as this company that just sells books and recognize that they can scale this into just about any other type of merchandise they want, and they do so in such a way where the focus has been on what can we do to give the customer the very best experience possible. And that creates a level of confidence that's so high. So maybe the website, I don't know, I just think Amazon's website is very robust. It's got great AI built into it. Hey, the last time you were here, you bought this. Maybe you'll like that. I mean, there's lots of tools out there that, by the way, have become affordable to many businesses, especially in the e-commerce world, But what I think Amazon sells, and I think you hit it on the head, they sell some peace of mind. They sell fast delivery. They sell consistency. And they sell a level of customer service that most companies don't seem to be able to compete with.
Completely agree. And I think I see both sides. I see Steve, I see Shep. I think the biggest thing is you actually don't want to compete with Amazon, right? You want to learn from Amazon because the reality is they're exceeding over $100 billion a quarter in revenue. That's not by accident, right? I think they've understood and learned from the psychology of consumers, right? It's all about, as you guys mentioned, convenience, right? As an online shopper, I can go on Amazon and I have access to thousands of products to choose from. But really, the buying experience is what's incredibly streamlined, right? So most e-commerce stores, you've got 5 steps to check out, right? You've got the shipping address, you got the billing address, you got the confirmation cart page. They've consolidated that and reduced it to one page, right? And best of all, the fulfillment, as you guys mentioned, in most cases is 1 to 2 days versus 1 to 2 weeks. So my philosophy is take what's working for Amazon and try to implement that into your e-commerce store, right? Because the reality is people are becoming more accustomed to that user experience, the ease of use, the quick checkout, and the speedy delivery. So the more you can emulate that in your own business, you're going to win.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll just add, it's also paying attention to some of the things they aren't doing as well as they used to, right? So, for example, customer experience, right? If you've noticed most recently, at least from my perspective, is that they are now getting into more like the chat bots, like we want you to answer these series of questions before you can talk to a rep, and they've made it more difficult for you to be able to reach a live person, right? So now that gives us the competitive edge. Like, if I'm looking at a particular product on Amazon, that I want to get or ask a question about, versus looking at it on an e-commerce store, if your ability to be able to get to the customer quicker and more appropriately will also give you a good differentiating factor in terms of like what can you do to now separate yourself from them. So a lot of everyone's kind of said, like, model what we see working really well because they're making a lot of money, right? So they're doing something right. But then also look at those little gaps. And so I oftentimes look and see what are the things are they not doing right on the landing page? What are the key things that they're not saying? For example, even with the reviews, they have the photos, they have some videos, but not all of their products that you could be potentially selling have a lot of videos. So then now that gives you the opportunity to figure out what type of content that you can now provide to your customers or visitors as they're coming to your store. So, yeah.
Right. Along that line, Ernest, we know that Amazon does some of their own shipping, and they have deep discounts that they're not available to many small businesses. Can you explain the benefits of dropshipping? Could dropshipping be the answer that small businesses need to keep shipping costs down?
So I'll say drop shipping done right, okay? So there's a underlying narrative that if you're not doing drop shipping, you're not familiar with, but a lot of people tend to look at leveraging overseas suppliers and manufacturers in order to do their fulfillment, right? But what you don't realize that comes along with that is, a nightmare in operations, basically, from product quality to fulfillment to what happens if there's a return, like who is it going back to? I mean, it could turn into a nightmare, right? So I've always advised, and this is the way I've always done drop shipping, is that I look to develop relationships with the actual brands and manufacturers in the market it is that I'm targeting. So, for example, if I'm selling electric fireplaces, while I could go overseas and possibly get them a little bit cheaper, I'd prefer to go to a domestic supplier, the actual manufacturer. So, for example, here in the U.S., there's a company called Amonte, there's Duraflame, there's Dimplex, and these are all big major brands that, again, Amazon also works with, right? Home Depot works with them, Walmart works with them. And yes, they are extremely open to working with you too. And I think that's what some people don't understand is that the same brands that you see these multi-billion-dollar companies working with, they want to work with you. right? You just have to approach it the same way. And when done that way, you're able to now increase your leverage in a sense of like with dropshipping. The beauty about it is you don't have to purchase the products and their inventory up front. Once you get the order, then you could send that purchase order over to your supplier, and then they could ship it direct to consumer. So in terms of will it help out with shipping costs? Not necessarily, because you're still going to have to pay, the shipping, whatever the shipping rate happens to be. But the beauty about the shipping world, which we can get some insight from the other panelists too, but from my experience, I think it's pretty simple. The more you ship, the more you save. Right. So if you're shipping off the manufacturer's account when you first set up your dropship account with them, for example, let's just say Duraflame, if you're working with them in their shipping account, oftentimes they'll actually pass over those same discounted rates because they have a huge national account. Right. And then sometimes you might have to start your own shipping account. So you might have to go to UPS or FedEx and set up your own account. And then when you have a purchase order, the supplier will actually bill your account. Then the more volume that you do, then you can go back and renegotiate for a discount. But the ability to have more leverage and then, being able to eventually get those discounts, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about that. Again, especially leveraging your supplier's account. And then along with that, while working with, again, real domestic good brands for fulfillment, you'll now be able to get those same exact fulfillment times that Amazon has. Right? Like I have a supplier, their brand is called SPT Appliance. They're in California. If we send in a purchase order before 3:00 Eastern Standard Time, that order's out the door the same day. I don't know how they do it, but it's out the door same day, right? So you're able to, again, match those same speeds because they understand that. And then also because they're also working with these big retailers and things of that nature, you're able to also leverage those, fulfillment times, lower shipping rates and things of that nature. So, hope that helps you guys out a little bit.
I have a question
Ernest,
for you, Ernest. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You go, and then I got a comment about the shipping.
Oh, I was just a question about drop shipping for Ernest. With Amazon, why would someone buy from you who's a drop shipper? And chances are you have higher pricing than what's directly listed on Amazon. So I'm just curious, what is the value add in buying from a drop shipper where you can actually get the exact same product on Amazon, where you have that fast shipping and you have the customer service aspect of it?
Yeah, so two things, right? So number one, with especially domestic suppliers here in the U.S., like not every country has this type of policy, but here in the U.S., manufacturers have what's called a MAP policy, MAP. So with the MAP policy, that what that will do is that will enforce that anyone that has access to that brand is working with them as a retailer, they all have to sell at the same exact price. Right? Because MAP stands for minimum advertised price. I forgot to mention that. So that's what that stands for. So, for example, if I'm working with the Monty and they give me access, obviously, to their line of fireplaces, everyone in the marketplace, it doesn't matter if it's Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot, everyone can only sell at a particular price in terms of the lowest price. Doesn't mean that you can't sell it higher, it just means that you can sell it lower, right? But with that, let's say, for example, the 60-inch electric fireplaces, they're all $1,000. Typically, on average, as we know in the dropship world, you're going to see about 20 to 30% margins after cost of goods sold, and typically with acquisitions, depending on how you advertise. So now, like with that, I'm not competing on price, and now we're competing on the other things that we talked about earlier. Customer experience, what am I offering? So if you buy an electric fireplace from me for the 60 inches and it's a $3,000 electric fireplace, I'll give you the mantle for free, which might be $200 in value, but I'm getting it, again, wholesale wise, like with shipping out the door, like 120, 160, but I'm making a net of like 400. So yeah, I take a little hit on my margin, but now I'm creating that unique experience. And that's just one simple example, but I find different ways to value add and create that separation by giving those certain little incentives.
So I was going to say, and I'll add a second comment, but as far as shipping goes, if I don't have to pay for the manufacturer to ship to me and then the customer, I only have to pay for the manufacturer to the customer, I've just cut out a pretty good cost, which allows me, if I choose to be, either more profitable or more competitive in price. And Ernest, to your point, if I am a fireplace store that you can buy retail and you can buy my same fireplace at Amazon, and I can give you some value-added information, the fact that you can call me at my store, talk to one of my very savvy salespeople and learn about the product before you buy, there's a pretty good chance if I do it right, you're going to want to buy from me. As a matter of fact, we've got stats and facts from our recent studies that show consumers are willing to pay more for a better customer experience. And one of the top three things they want in that experience is knowledgeable people. Now, Amazon doesn't necessarily provide that. They provide you a whole lot of information in the form of reviews and comments from customers. You go to their company, Zappos, which they bought. Zappos has a phone number on every single page, allowing you to call their salespeople in their call centers or support centers and ask all the questions you want. I'm surprised that Amazon itself, I don't know if it's because it would cost a fortune to do so and may just erode their margins or may not make it as competitive as they can, but wouldn't that be interesting? Because Zappos has never been known for low prices. They've been known for great service. Amazon is kind of known at the beginning as lowest prices, and then now they're competitively priced on the lower side, and they're also known, again, and we talked about it, or I mentioned earlier, consistent and predictable service.
The one thing we do with our store, we have a lot of wedding customers, and they could buy from Amazon for a lot cheaper prices, but we give them a dedicated rep, and we guarantee that their product's going to make it to the wedding on time, and they have a single point of contact. And that's why they buy from us, even if it's more expensive. Sorry, Alex, didn't mean to interrupt.
Customers will pay more for that. Our surveys show that 61% of consumers are willing to pay more. If the experience is more convenient, that jumps up to about 69%. And if delivery is part of that, it actually jumps to almost 90%.
No, those are great points. And I think, some of the questions that I always get about this too, just kind of in my world is, well, how do we drive the same type of traffic like an Amazon gets, right? Or Zappos? I mean, that's always like the reason that, business owners are trying to adapt and figure out, okay, well, I'm always going to lose the game to Amazon if I can't drive the same traffic. And so in our world, I think I'd love to kind of switch gears here a little bit, and I'd love to get everybody's take on this is, how do you bring that audience to you as a brand? And so as a social media agency, our goal is to build that community. It's to build that audience. So every time a new product drops, you have an audience that's going to come to you before they go to Amazon. And so a couple of statistics that I think is really intriguing, you guys, is, you've got 3.8 billion people that are on social media. And now all of social media is going towards this social e-commerce experience where the majority of people are going to social, and to give you an exact statistic, 54% of people that are searching on social are doing so to research specific products and to get that kind of brand validity. So I'm a huge proponent, and I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on the importance of building that brand, right? And that brand validity, whether it's through, developing content, leveraging influencers to promote your product or your brand. Do you guys have a take on that, on kind of bringing the audience to you?
So
I'm a huge, yeah.
Go,
I'll let you go first this time, Chip.
No, Steve, I insist. Age before beauty.
Hair before no hair. Okay.
There you go.
So I'm a huge believer in content, because I think when it just comes to selling anything online, it's all about getting people on your bus. Like, the more points of contact that you have, the more they're going to be thinking about you. And if they see your content, they might not be ready to buy right away. But if you're in their ear, if they see you, often, when it comes time for them to actually want to buy your product, they'll think of you and they'll go to your store and buy your product.
Absolutely.
And to echo that, Steve, that's exactly what I was going to say. Content marketing is perhaps one of the strongest places we can go. We have the opportunity to put articles on our website, create videos on YouTube, and recognizing that YouTube is the second largest search engine behind Google, who happens to own YouTube, it's a powerful place to be. And if you're a local, and I'll go back, I just wrote an article that was published, I think maybe about 2 weeks ago, called How to Compete with Amazon. Yeah, on June 2nd, 2021. And what number one is, you stop competing. If you think you're going to compete against Amazon, forget about it. Let's go back years ago before the digital revolution. And what happened when Walmart moved into a small town and started to disrupt all these retailers? What happens when Home Depot and Lowe's moves in right next to a tiny little Ace Hardware store? How did these companies survive and even thrive in the shadows of these giants? And the way they do it is they stop competing. They learn to coexist. I will tell you that it's table stakes, that you have to be easy to do business with. You have to find ways, especially if you're a local retailer. What can you do to become a part of your customers' lives? For example, if I own a bike store, how can I compete against those big box stores and even Amazon that might sell my same bike? Well, what I can do is I can create events. There's a bike store here in town that you can go and every Saturday morning get your bagels and your juice and your coffee and then take off on a ride and come back, and they got a little snack for you when you get back. They don't charge you for any of that. And these people week after week after week are doing it. And you know what ends up happening? They only buy whatever they need for their biking needs at that store. You can start thinking like your Amazon, and you can say, hey, if Amazon, I actually have meetings with my clients and I ask them this question: what could Amazon do to take customers away from us? And then ask another question: what would Amazon want to change if it acquired our company? And if you start to brainstorm those out, you'll learn a tremendous amount about what your capabilities and opportunities are. All right, I'm going to shut up for a moment.
No, it's a great point. I think, we always talk about in the social media world as well is, you'll be on Amazon or you'll be searching a product and that product continues to follow you and they start learning your behavior. And I think, as you mentioned, competing with Amazon is not necessarily the right choice, right? It's being able to know your audience and being able to show them product through paid social or through the social media content or what's on your website. Because ultimately, as you mentioned, people are going to buy what is relevant to their life and their lifestyle, right? So I think it's very important. Programmatic advertising on social, you guys, if you're a small business owner listening to this, branch out and start spending money on platforms like a YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. These are all channels where people are highly engaged and they are looking for that next product. They are looking to make a buying decision. There's going to be more direct integration with social platforms and e-commerce platforms so people can literally purchase from a platform like Instagram. So just some things to kind of piggyback off of, Shep, because I think you're exactly right. It's all about relevance and staying in front of your audience.
So, Alex, what I liked about what you said is the fact that you actually talk to people. A lot of people go into online business thinking they could just hide behind a computer the entire time. And with social, at least in my experience running both of my businesses, it's all in the DMs. So the people who I have one-on-one conversations with on Instagram, TikTok, or whatnot, those are the people that are much more likely to buy.
Absolutely. Yeah. People buy.
My question, and actually Steve kind of it even gives it more clarity, is YouTube is not a place where people go to buy. It's a place where people go to learn what they want to buy. But what I hear from you is there's going to be a transition to where people will be able to buy right off of YouTube. Is that what you're getting ready to tell us?
Absolutely.
It's already happening.
I mean, it's happening. So, you look at, the best example of this in real time is, I'm going on Instagram. One of my favorite athletes is wearing some tennis shoes that I'm like, oh, this is really what I want, right? You can now click that shoe, right, on that picture, and now that's going to populate into a landing page where you can actually purchase. So this social e-commerce experience, again, this is another way, again, not directly competing with Amazon, but to have that upper hand is start leveraging influencers, start leveraging people that people idolize and get that product in their hands, because the likelihood that that's going to convert now on social is much higher than it used to be 5-10 years ago or even 30 days ago. So it's happening, Shep, and it's here to stay for sure.
Exciting times.
Absolutely.
Who did I interrupt? I interrupted you, Ernest, didn't I? I keep interrupting people.
Yeah, no. The conversation just took off like a rocket ship, man. Yeah, no, and to add to that too, Alex, I'm a big proponent of like paid traffic too as well. Like, if you're not really paying for advertising, you're missing the boat with your products, man. Like, as much as creating content, as much as, building a community, as much as email marketing and all that good stuff, like, to keep the flow coming, you gotta pay for traffic. And my biggest favorite channel is actually the shopping network through Google. right? So specifically, like when you go to like look for any product, right? At the top of like you put an electric fireplace, at the top of Google, that little segment that shows you those different products, that's called the shopping network. It's a different component with inside of Google, and that has a very, very high conversion rate because the beauty about how it works is that there's a thing called Merchant Center, and when you connect that to your store, which you send in your product information, Google will now pay attention to the search queries that happens and only trigger your product for one or two reasons. Either A, someone's looking for exactly what you sell, or B, they're looking for something extremely similar to what you sell. So even if you are not a, guru in advertising like Alex and super sharp like me, like I'm not that sharp, right? But I was like, man, if Google's going to find the people and put me in front of them, sign me up for that because I have no idea how this fancy stuff works, right? So I would highly suggest that if you're not leveraging, running ads on the shopping network with Google, highly suggest you do so. And then the other point in terms of multi-channel marketing, specifically when you go to run ads on the shopping network, there's going to be a little section that says search partners or in-network partners, right? And so now you're able to maximize the other channel and assets that Google owns. So for example, there's a website called The Guardian. The Guardian is a search partner with Google. So if they search for something on that platform and your product is relevant to that, like Steve, I know you mentioned like a wedding service, they're reading a wedding service article. They're like, let me use a search function and look at, different wedding dresses or something like that. Now you can come up on their website as someone that they can now click on to get to your actual store, right? So that, and then we talked about YouTube. Now Google's opened up a component in YouTube right underneath the video. If someone's using a query that's related to a product, they would now give you real estate on YouTube, and you don't have to run YouTube ads. They will take the network and then put your product in front of them as long as you're relevant to whatever video it is that they're watching. So, yeah.
Intent, you're literally going intent-based marketing, right? Like behavioral-based marketing, what people are looking for, and having that visibility is just so important. And, to that point on the advertising side, you guys, there's so much out there in terms of what you can do with targeting. I mean, you can literally take a customer list, upload it into Facebook or Google, and build a custom audience and let channels like Facebook and Google go find other people that fit that demographic or that buying style. It's called a lookalike audience. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do to get in front of the right people versus casting your net too wide. And as Ernest, you were saying, I mean, you could potentially, drive traffic to the wrong audience. So it's all about intent-based marketing. It's all about behavior. And I think, again, content plays a big role in that, because now what's happening is all these ads are popping up on our newsfeed. And a part of, a consumer's due diligence is they're going to go over to your social media channels. They're going to go look at reviews. They're going to do all these things. So having kind of an omni-channel approach, I also think is very important.
And we have a question from the audience. Let me read it, and we can jump on this. Jeff is asking, what about those folks who like talking to a person and do so, but will only buy where it's cheapest? They're calling us, but chances are they're using us for information to purchase elsewhere. I have my thoughts, but why don't we go in reverse alphabetical order? More hair. I think, Alex, you got the most hair.
Well, I think it's a great question. I mean, that's always the tricky part, right? Because there are people that are strictly shopping for price. And, you have to decide if you're the brand that's going to be price or if you're going to be the brand that is value, right? I think that's the reason that you have the Whole Foods of the world, and then you've got the Walmarts of the world. There's not one wrong or right answer. It's just you have to kind of discern, hey, am I going to be the expensive product or am I going to be the cheap product? And I think the way that you can add value to that brand, as we kind of talked about, is yes, that personalization is very important, but continuing to elevate your brand, right? Everything you can do to get people like influencers to market your brand always adds value. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but I do think it starts with really the baseline of what brand are you? Are you the cheap option? Or are you the expensive option? And if you are the expensive option, what is that value proposition? So I'll start it off there, but turn it over to whoever's next.
How about Ernest?
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think I'm next in line with the hair now. Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, I think oftentimes we, especially in the beginning or when we're making a transition to do something, we're taking our own personal experience on how we do something and assume that the marketplace is responding that same way, right? But when we look at any individual category across the board, like, with the grocery example from Whole Foods to Walmart, or, you got your Adidas and then you have, Gucci slides, right? Like you can go and always get something cheaper, right? But the thing is that determining who you want to be, and I love that Alex said that, because I know when I came into really wanting to build my business, I just put my foot down and said I'm just not going to be the cheapest person. Now I said, because I'm not going to be the cheapest person, what can I now do to again provide a better experience to separate myself from everyone else in the marketplace, Amazon included, right? So for example, even just taking just a water bottle, and this is like a deer park, right? And it's like, now if you make this aesthetically more pleasing to the eye and you put it in the hand of an influencer, like, let's just say a Morris Chestnut, right? Now it's like, oh man, that's a nice bottle of water, and that's a nice guy that's holding that bottle of water, right? So it's just like, and he's big time, right? In terms of like an actor. So now it's like, man, like I think I might want to go with their water, right? Actually, a great example is I just bought a bottle of water from an artist. His name is Lil Zane. He was really big in like the 90s in hip hop and rap, and his water was like $9 a bottle. Like, I got Deer Park right here. This is $1 at Walmart, right? But I paid $9 because I wanted to support him and I wanted to support his brand, right, and what he's doing. So again, just sitting down and determining what you want to do, how you want to do it. You want to be the brand that actually has really high margins because you're selling at a higher price point, or do you want to be the brand that's solely looking to compete on price? And then you can start to game plan something around that that'll put you in a better position to have success.
So I think to
Steve.
answer your question, Jeff, I think it's a lot harder when you sell the exact same products as someone else, right? Much easier when you have your own brand, and everything that Ernest and Alex said, absolutely true. When you don't have your own brand, you're selling someone else's brand, you should do what Ernest mentioned earlier in this talk. He has these value adds, like he'll give something free if you purchase from him, or he'll provide maybe installation advice, and that's something that you can't get. So you basically need to come up with your value props that will convince someone to buy from you, even though you're slightly more expensive, where you can actually make up for that extra value.
Yeah. And Jeff, I'm going to suggest that you do a little research and check out Best Buy, because they had a concept. I don't know if they came up with it, but it was called showrooming, I believe. And what would happen is people would go to Best Buy, look at all the TV sets, computers, whatever, and then they'd go straight over to Amazon and buy it. And it was creaming their business in a negative way. It wasn't creamed rising to the top. It was smashing their business. And they figured out how to turn it around and make that showrooming work for them. Here's the bottom line. We've got to create enough value, and I think Ernest was hitting on that earlier, as Steve just mentioned. We got to create enough value that people would say, I've got, and by the way, our salespeople have to be good if they're talking to us on the phone. What do we need to do to get them to place that order today, right now, and start doing business with them? And the key in creating, what Amazon has done is created a lot of repeat business because they have this Prime program. When you pay $120 a year, you want to get your money's worth out of it, right? So if I'm going to ask somebody to pay a little bit more money for my product, okay, I've got to give them justification to do so. If I want to create, and I know I'm getting off the tangent here, but I want you to realize that repeat business could come from marketing, loyalty programs, which aren't really loyalty programs. They're like points programs. Buy 5 sandwiches, the 6th one's free. I keep coming back because I want that 6th sandwich. But if you take that punch card away, am I still going to show up? But find ways to create some incentive to stay doing business with us. It could be that repeat customer loyalty program, as I called it. It could be you add value in the form of, hey, if you buy this from Amazon, who are you going to call when you need help? Okay, if you buy it from us, you're going to talk to one of our knowledgeable sales reps that specialize in this product. So find your value prop and exploit it.
Great question, Jeff.
I know there's a bunch of other questions. You know, to me, silence is deadly. So we're.
I'm comfortable with silence, Shep. I don't know about you, but yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's what is it that business? Here's a great question that's out there, and it was I know originally it was somebody else. Oh, thanks. Jeff said thanks so much to all. How do you? What is it that we could do in business that Amazon can't do? Steve, we'll start with you.
All right. So here's my philosophy on sales in general. People generally buy from who they like. And when you shop on Amazon, there's like no personality whatsoever. So we already talked about a number of these things, whether it be content, social media, just great customer service, providing a rep. Any sort of thing that humanizes your business is basically how you compete against Amazon. Also, as I mentioned before, like Amazon is becoming, in my opinion, it's almost there, but it's almost becoming this junkyard. I think Gail in the chat mentioned that she likes to go for reviews, but all that's even being gamed now as well, right? Mm-hmm. So anything that you can do to provide credibility, to get people to just like you as a company, like little things that you do, like hold bike events, like I forget, was it Alex or Shep who mentioned that? All those things contribute and make you instantly more appealing than Amazon.
Couldn't agree more. I always say people buy from people, and for a while now, everyone's like, okay, not in the digital world, that's old school. But like, it's actually doing a 360 really right now. It's like exactly like you said, Steve. You go to Amazon, zero personality, other than the guy at the top, Jeff Bezos, who you see occasionally pop up. But that's about it, right? And there's no chat feature, there's nothing. So I do believe that people buy from people. I think there's ways to personalize the buying experience from start to finish. And again, you always have to put your customer in the driver's seat, right? It's not about you as the brand, it's about the customer. So everything that you create, from the content, from the website, from everything, has to be putting the customer in the driver's seat. Just something to always kind of think about. And I do think that's a big differentiator.
Ernest, any comment about that?
Yeah, I mean, everything those guys said, I know, I've always embraced every single one of those strategies. And even with that being included, it's just like, offering incentives and stuff that, like Amazon's not going to do. Like, I tell my audience, when they ask questions about, what can I do to beat Amazon? I mean, Amazon's not going to provide like the free mantle on the electric fireplace. Or if you call and talk to Amazon on the phone, they're not going to give you like personalized service. Like, hey, when your product gets there, I'm going to give you a call and make sure you're all right. You okay with that? Like, wow, you're going to call me back? Like, yeah, we're a business. We take care of people. Like, wow, that's kind of weird, but that's cool. I like that. I've had customers say that, it's just like, wow, you actually checked up on me. When you get your tracking information, it's just an email notification, right? Like, again, you could provide a personal text and say, hey, John, I'm just making sure that everything's all right, once the product gets there, or hey, John, everything's en route. Just wanted to keep you updated. Like, none of that is coming from Amazon. Those are very simple things. And I love, Shep, when you talked about earlier, like the bike events. I mean, that's so phenomenal. Like, the ad, that they're doing that, your local bike shop. I mean, that's something, again, Amazon's not hosting no event. They're not interested in doing stuff like that. They're like, hey, how can we get more people buying on this website?
I think Amazon is going to eventually do, if they're opening beauty salons, so brick and mortar. They're opening stores, brick and mortar. They decided they wanted to open grocery stores, so they bought Whole Foods. I think more for the distribution opportunity than for anything, but it was a good brand. I think that, I disagree with some of what's said here, simply because I think people like doing business with Amazon. Amazon is to me, they're a great company. They're a role model for a lot of what we can do to be more successful. We can't compete head to head with a lot of what Amazon does. You can't automate a relationship, but somehow Amazon figured out how to do it. They make you feel a little bit personal when you come on and they remember what your orders were in the past. They might make recommendations in the future. And they have this consistent, unbelievably consistent and predictable series of events that happen. When you place that order, you immediately get an email. You're told when it ships with the tracking number. Maybe you're not getting a phone call, but you're getting the information. And when it shows up, you're getting a picture sent to you that your package has arrived. There it is against your doorstep, waiting for a burglar to come by and steal it. No, I'm just kidding about that last part. But you get the idea that they're sending you this information. And even though it's not a human-to-human experience, that website and all that automation was built by humans to be used by humans. So we recognize there is an opportunity to do all of the things that we talked about to coexist and compete with Amazon. You know, Walmart was what Amazon was 25 years ago. As I mentioned earlier in our conversation, they'd move into a town and small businesses would be scared to death at what's going to happen. And you know what Walmart did? We're going to hold a seminar on how you can compete with us. And that's what they did. One other comment that I think is pretty cool for the local business or smaller business, I did some research and I wrote a book called Amaze Every Customer Every Time. And I used Ace Hardware as a role model throughout because they competed against Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot, these big box stores that would outspend them by 30 times advertising dollars, that often were 10 times the size of their stores. So this one Ace Hardware owner said, I can't compete anymore with them. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm pulling all of my advertising that we typically and traditionally do. I'm going to take all of that money. I'm going to go to the local high schools, the baseball teams, the soccer teams. I'm going to go to the church and I'm going to sponsor their events with the same advertising budget that I used to do to cast this wider net. And it worked. They succeeded tremendously well with that experience. Why? Because they went local, not worldwide.
Hey, Shep, I had a question for you. How did Best Buy solve their showrooming problem?
There's a whole case study there. But the goal was to create the value on the floor. They also did something as well. They were so oftentimes it wasn't so much that the price was all that different, although it might have been a little bit lower. They're willing to match the prices. So there's several. Here's what they need you to do, and it's any business. If you're going to have smaller margins, how do we do it? Volume. That's no joke, our prices are so, we lose business on every sale, but how do we do it? We make up for it in volume or something like that. Doesn't work anymore. But the point is what Best Buy did is, number one, they had good reps. They had knowledgeable people that could prove value. If a customer were able to find that price more competitive through Amazon, they were willing to match. They would not let that customer get out of the store without having a good shot at buying. There's much more to it than that, but you could just type in a Google search how they did this, and we could do a whole program on that one day. Maybe we'll come back and do that for Small Biz Aid.
Yeah. And so another thing I'd want to bring up, and this is really just another question to pose to the panelists here. So the follow-up process. After somebody makes a purchase, there used to be where the actual vendor on Amazon was able to have control of that follow-up, whether it's through email. And Ernest, you kind of mentioned it, kind of that follow-up personalization aspect. That has since kind of gone away, and Amazon has complete control over that. Do you guys think that could be a value proposition or something that a small business e-commerce store owner could leverage, is kind of that follow-up process after you get a first customer?
I mean, I use Klaviyo to have this really personalized post-purchase sequence. I'll thank them differently depending on whether they're a first or a repeat customer. And I get survey results. I have them take a picture for social media so I can use them. But most importantly, depending on what they bought, I might cross-sell them a different item. So for example, we sell matching napkins in our store, cocktail, lunch, and dinner. Let's say they only bought cocktail napkins. The Klaviyo will automatically cross-sell them the matching dinner napkins and the lunch napkins. These are all things that Amazon kind of does, but they don't do it nearly as well because they don't have like intimate knowledge of exactly what goes with what, right? And so these are little things that you can do on your own
specialized
platform.
too, which makes a big difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are things that you can do with your own store better than Amazon in the automation realm also.
And those tools are not that expensive today compared to what they were even just a few years ago.
Yeah. And to Steve's point, I mean, if anybody's listening that has a Shopify store, Klaviyo is absolutely the way to go for email automation. Goes for abandoned cart campaigns, upsell flows. There's just a lot of opportunity within that email automation, and I think that's a really great point to bring up.
And as long as we're going down these lines, I think SMS marketing is it's been killing it for my business, just mainly because the open click-through rates are amazing, and everyone checks their messages, right? Like as soon as you get a text, especially if it's from my wife, I check it right away. And the same goes, I actually don't mind getting texts from businesses that I really love. Like, because if there's a sale, I actually want to know about it so I can actually make a purchase. Or if there's any incentives at all, people don't mind getting text messages. So that's like the most intimate way to actually communicate with your customers. But one thing I'll also add on the conversation, like I'll have full-on conversations with customers via text. When the automation isn't quite there, you can always just step in and talk.
Yeah.
I was going to say the key to making that work is that your customer is trusting you with their personal phone number, that you won't abuse the privilege. Only give them what they want at the most extreme personalized level. And I think that's part of what you're talking about, Steve, is that you're personalizing the experience. And by the way, that's another major reason customers will continue to do business with you, is because they feel there's some personal interaction. It could be automation that remembers what you bought before and recommends others, but it could also be the fact it's like the Cheers effect. You guys may be too young to remember Cheers, but it was a 1980s sitcom, and the theme song goes something like, where these people go there because it's where everybody knows your name. Now, knowing your name is basically the metaphor for we know our customers. And that's, if you want to compete in any business, small, big, against Amazon or against your direct competitor down the street, the more you know your customer, the better you know your customer, the more likely they are to feel connected to you.
Great point.
I know we're getting close to running out of time. Our moderator is shooting us messages through the system here. So any final comments why don't we start with Ernest, and we'll kind of work our way around the room, so to speak, with any final comments.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I know we didn't touch base on, but it's something that we all embrace as internet marketers, is we have this cliche where we say the riches are in the niches. Right?
Yeah.
Or niches. I don't know how you guys say it. Niches, niches.
Well, it doesn't rhyme with niches, right?
Yeah, I know, right? But when we're focused on serving a particular customer and audience in market, again, Steve's example, wedding, I built a wine storage company 7 years ago, so I specifically focus on wine enthusiasts. It makes that personalization, it makes that experience. It gives you naturally it gives you a competitive edge, because now you can say, hey, talk to a specialist. And as consumers, everybody loves talking to a specialist. Everybody wants to talk to the person that knows what they're talking about if they were to be addressed with a question. So don't forget that also in and of itself is a natural way to, again, differentiate yourself and give yourself some uniqueness in the marketplace as you guys are developing, your campaigns and other things that you're doing in terms of just being a small business and business in general. So,
great point.
Alex.
Yeah, I'm the social media guy, so I'm just going to keep driving home that the importance of social media is ever relevant as we continue to go with the expansion of TikTok and things like this. I couldn't agree more that the specialization, finding your niche, is very, very important, because right now there are so many little community groups and pockets on social media that really you can get your product in front of. So I think visibility on social right now is very, very important. Try to post daily. We put together content calendars for our clients. Every day a new post is going to go out. We run advertisements to their audience. Like Ernest said, if you're a wine enthusiast, finding that target audience and hitting it home with an advertisement on social is going to further your impact and really help grow your company. So that's all from my end.
Steve.
So I was going to kind of piggyback on what you said, Alex, and I was going to say everyone needs to be creating some form of content. It's all about inbound marketing. You want people to come to you. You don't want to be out there trying to grab business. In an ideal world, you have content, people are attracted to your content, and they come to you. And when it comes to creating content, it's really just about being consistent. So we talked about YouTube videos here. Just put out one YouTube video a week, and YouTube will find you those customers. Same with blogging. Social media requires a little bit more work, more consistency, I would say, or more posting, I should say, but all three of those together really amplify all of your efforts. And it's a game of touch points. The more you can get into the minds of your customers, the more that they'll buy from you when it comes time for them to need the items that you sell.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm the poster child for that idea. I have over 600 videos on YouTube. Plus, we do all the social media. I'd like to end my comments with something very tactical. First of all, shameless plug. It was mentioned in the introduction, but I do have a book out. I'll be back. How to get your customers to come back again and again. This is number 8 in my series of books on customer experience. Specifically in this book, and by the way, how do I separate myself from Amazon? You can buy it from Amazon, but if you go to I'llBeBackBook.com, you immediately get the download of the ebook if you buy the regular price book. So you don't have to wait for the book to actually get to you, which doesn't come out for a little while. You can start getting your customers to say, I'll be back right away. But here's straight out of chapter 15. I want you to have a meeting. I want you to sit down, and I want you to ask in your meeting with your team, why would someone do business with us? And get all the good answers. Don't say because we have great customer service, because everybody does. What are the things that would differentiate you from your competition? Now, this is an interesting question I ask of many of my audiences. What's the easiest company in the world to do business with? Almost everybody will say Amazon. I want you to ask yourself, what does Amazon do that you love? Not, forget about your business in general. What do they do? And create this great list of all the reasons that you love doing business with Amazon. And then say, what are they doing that we're not doing that we could be doing? And add that to the list of the things you already do that differentiates you. And now you have an even bigger opportunity to, again, I hate to use the word compete with Amazon, but to coexist alongside some of these big, huge giants like Amazon, Walmart, or any of the other online retailers that are really just kicking it and doing a great job. So those are my final words. And I got to tell you, it's been a pleasure to hang out with all of you guys. Thanks so much for being just this great think tank on marketing and how to compete with big competition.
Said one more thing to add to that. It's not a question of competing with Amazon, because in an ideal world, you should be selling on Amazon, your store, Walmart, whatever marketplace that you can. It doesn't matter where people are finding your products as long as you're selling them. So you should be omnichannel.
Be everywhere.
Yeah. Be everywhere. Yeah.
Gail, you want to take us home? Is Gail still there?
Chef,
yes,
you were
there
doing,
she is.
Yes, you were doing such a fantastic job. You didn't need me to take you home, but I will anyway. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. You were awesome and amazing, and I knew you would be. And so I guess we'll close it out for today and send everyone over to the Alignable community. I think Heather's going to come do that.
Yep. All right. Thank you all for attending this session of Small Business Live. To continue the conversation, please join the Small Business Website Support or Online Stores Alignable Small Business Group, and I'll provide the link in the chat. Recordings of these sessions will be available within 48 hours. Links to the recorded sessions will be provided on our event page within the agenda. Thank you again, and have a great day. If you want to stay, and I highly suggest it, for the next session, please stay right here, and we will start the next session shortly. Thanks so much, everyone.